Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Redefine Effect. My name is Dr. Jones. I am one of the hosts here of this beautiful podcast, which is ultimately serving a mission and an intention to be able to bring more clarity to this ability that human beings have to redefine their circumstances. Because me being in healthcare and a healthcare provider, I am a doctor of chiropractic. So I did kind of dedicate I've dedicated my life to the understanding and the intricacies of healing. And I found a very simple way to view healing in my experience, which is to never forget the redefining principle that we all have, which allows us to take the circumstance that we're in, whatever it is. In most cases, it's suffering, infliction, or pain, or a sense of being out of alignment or not feeling great, right? And then being able to redefine it in a way that ultimately allows us to feel more in alignment or better than what we feel when we think about it in this way. It's quite literally taking a plethora of different point of views and picking which one feels the best to place on the circumstance that I'm in and doing it continuously until you have deconditioned yourself out of the spiral of negative, limited ideas about who you are in relation to the circumstance. And you filled the space up that you uprooted with new seeds so that a new world can come, a new reality, a new lens can be put onto your nervous system, onto your way of viewing the circumstance that is in more alignment, that produces a greater sense of joy and freedom. So that is ultimately the key, in my opinion, to truly being able to overcome. And overcoming anything to me is healing. When we fail to overcome, we fail to heal. When we fail to heal, we stay stuck, we stay stagnant, and it reflects in the body as very malpositioned joints that are fixated and aren't moving properly in their joint capsule and produce friction and resistance and create inflammation, and the body screaming at you. And it's just screaming in a way to get you to realize that there's something that you're doing that's off. Typically, it's in a belief system because that's the most subtle. So, to correct the most subtle thing that's creating the cascade of events of this ow, 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 this hurts, this pain in the body, is ultimately going to get you to the root cause of the pain rather than trying to get rid of the pain, numb the pain, take a pain pill, rub an ointment on it to get rid of it. We're trying to understand it. We're trying to recognize where it's coming from. We're trying to ask the deeper questions. What must I believe in for me to feel this way about this situation that's causing me to feel some sort of discomfort within my body, right? And in most cases, if we are talking pain or discomfort, then we must be taking on some sort of belief that has to do with limitation about ourselves and our ability to handle what's happening and our ability to handle the sensations that our body is producing. At some level, we're disempowering ourselves. We're not believing in ourselves enough. Pain is arising, but we're viewing it as something that means that we're not worthy to feel bliss or joy or happiness or freedom for that matter. So, in a sense, what we're saying is that the pain and the happiness and the joy and the bliss, which to me is again the opposite end of pain, we're saying that happiness, joy, bliss, and freedom cannot coexist with pain. We're saying that it's either the pain that I'm in, the suffering that I'm in, or happiness, joy, bliss, and freedom. And right there, we've created separation. We've said that I can't truly feel free, present, blissful. Pain is arising in my life. And this is the furthest thing from the truth. And in fact, you'll find that the reason that the pain is arising is so that you can find the love, the joy, the bliss, the freedom within it, not around it, not trying to go around it, go under it, not trying to hide from it, not trying to cover it up, but to go within it and see that it is made up of that oneness, loving, unconditional, universal, intelligent like quality that everything is made up of. The pain is not arising separately from you. The pain is arising due to you, because of you. And the intensity of that pain is typically going to be dictated upon or proportionate to how much you believe you are limited by that pain. If you believe you're limited by the pain, then the pain will typically be more prominent, more disastrous in your life. And this is a beautiful thing. The more limited we feel, the more painful we feel. Why? Because the pain is a mechanism to get you to become aware that you are believing in something that's fundamentally untrue. In this case, you're believing that you're limited. So you need to figure out what you believe yourself to be limited to, or why do you believe yourself to be limited in the first place? And if you can figure that out, then chances are a lot of the sensations of pain that arise due to whatever it's coming from, whether it's, I don't know, nerve entrapment or tingling down the arm or pain in the neck or chronic pain in the mid back or pain in the hips. There's many forms of pain. There's many expressions of it, but ultimately it is always coming from the soil of a lack belief or a limited idea about yourself in relation to something, right? So I just think that's a beautiful mechanism put in place by whatever made us. Because if you're intelligent and you move with a mindset that can be aware of this new perspective on pain, then you are accelerating your lessons and your learning. And that is very beautiful. That is very beautiful. Um, so I wanted to kind of steer the conversation into another direction. I have my phone here. Um, I wanted to kind of hop on a journal entry that I wrote and see where this takes us. Because I had a vision about me kind of just being able to write my thoughts out and then hop onto this podcast or this platform and share again my thoughts or my perspective on circumstances that you may have been going through or are going through right now or will go through in the future, whatever it may be. But I wanted to be able to not forget kind of important things that pop into my mind. So I wrote them down and now we're going to talk about them. So I'm going to read this little journal entry and then we're going to discuss it um, after I'm done. So the journal entry. So I wrote, and I'm going to read it once over and then we'll go over it. So I wrote, when we try to believe in our happiness and freedom, we will inevitably run into limitations as long as we make a state of being dependent on a feeling or thought. Meaning, what I'm saying here is the state of being is the state of freedom or the state of happiness or the state of joy. If we make that state of being dependent on a feeling or thought, then we have limited ourselves, right? And typically, what we do then, or what this looks like, is I think happiness and joy looks and feels like this. So, happiness and joy has to look this way. It has to feel this way. It has to look like this person coming into my life, this amount of money in my bank account, this career that I'm in. It has to feel like this. It has to look like this. So, what do? We will structure our lives around what we think happiness looks like. But if we don't realize what we're doing, which is limiting ourselves, then we are really stuck. We're trapped in the mind once again. We have once again made ourselves and our happiness dependent on something. We have not fully realized that the reason we are unsatisfied and unhappy in the first place is not because we are believing in negative thoughts. It is because we believe that in order to feel this way or this state, something has to happen to us. We live in limitation, which will always create vibration in our energy bodies that will go against the nothingness that is always present, or you can say the limitless. We live in limitation, which will always create a vibration in our bodies that will go against the limitless vibration that's always emitting from us, that's always vibrating off of us. The true freedom is not even caring about being happy or trying to force yourself to be happy. The true freedom comes from what? Question mark. Then I put, let's go deeper into this. So, the true freedom comes from not even caring about being happy. And I think I wrote this because in my journey, I have found myself creating a very subtle limitation, lack belief that was like kind of hard to catch because I labeled it as being blissful or joyful or free or happy or grateful, right? I figured like, yeah, let me just make everything grateful and happy. I fell into this like limited mindset that if I'm not saying that it's grateful, joyful, or happy, then it's not. And it was very weird because it went against typically what we hear in spirituality or we hear in like self-help or self whatever books that we take on. We typically are taught to like say positive affirmations and say positive things and think positive and be positive. But the the freedom that I was seeking for didn't come from doing that. It actually, again, like I said, it created more limitation. It created more limitation because basically what I was saying that this universe, this reality that I'm living in, I'm trying to give it meaning essentially when it's not asking for it, right? It's not saying that it has to be this way or this way. Like for some reason, I didn't realize or have the perspective available at that time when I was doing this that something can truly be the most freeing and blissful and joyful experience when it's just blank, when it's just there, when it's just allowed to be in that moment what it is allowed to be without having to have some sort of label or description of it. In this case, the label would always be grateful, 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 joyful, 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 happy, 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 whatever, right? And I felt limited because I was making my state of being dependent on, I was making my feeling state, I was making my emotional state, I was making all of that dependent on what I was saying, how I was saying it, what I was being, how I was being it. I'm essentially what I was doing now that I realize it is I was covering up the innate perfection of isness, of what it already is, just right now in this moment, beyond definition, beyond label. So I have now deepened into the practice after learning that lesson, which again inspired me to write that passage or that journal entry in the first place. And through the deepening of that lesson, I've realized more and more that the true freedom is not about believing in a happy thought or to make us happy, or negative lives are not because we have negative thinking. Negative lives and happy lives have nothing to do with the way that we think. And it has everything to do with the fact that we are thinking. Okay. So something that I wrote, again, going back to it, right? The reason we are unsatisfied and unhappy in the first place is not because we are believing in negative thoughts. It's because we believe that in order to feel a certain state, something has to happen. And this is kind of an important part, right? It's never about like the reason that we're a lot of us want to go back to the thoughts, right? Our way of thinking, our way of thinking, our way of thinking. Like investigate your thoughts and what are your thoughts, and your thoughts create your reality. And yes, of course, that's the case. But I would even go so far as to say that it's not so much about having a certain way of thinking, it's about the making your reality dependent on your thinking. Free yourself up from that idea, right? The beauty of life, the beauty of the inherent freedom of life is the fact that we get to think, the fact that we get to believe. It's not about believing in this or that, it's the fact that we can believe in the first place. That is the freedom. That is the happiness. That is the joy. And that's what I had to realize, because when I was going about my positive spiritual, like everything's beautiful and blissful, and I have to believe in all this positive affirmations in order for me to feel a positive life, I was creating another trap. I was creating another prison, another cell, another confined container of limitation, which was going against, once again, my innate my innate freedom, my inborn freedom that's always already here right now. And I was wondering why I wasn't feeling great when I was speaking my affirmations. It's because when I'm speaking my affirmations of joy and freedom and bliss, I'm coming from a place of limitation. I'm coming from a place of, in order for me to feel joy, freedom, and bliss, it has to look this way and it has to feel this way. And this is the complete opposite from what I realized. But I had to go through this in order for me to land here. And I'm hoping that this inspires you to investigate your own inner dialogue of how many things you try to make joyful and blissful, and how many times you bypass the true essence of this joy, joyous, freest, blissful life. How many times do you look over it because you want to jump from this style of thinking to this style of thinking? You want to jump from this point of view to that point of view. I'm saying get rid of the points of views and become the entire view that holds all the points of views. Get rid of all points of views just for a second and rest in what remains as you start to see that there is a whole, spacious, infinite, boundless, limitless space that's allowed to have every point of view arise, infinite points of views. Quite literally, infinite potentials can be here. It's infinitely potential. So, the typically the resistance that we feel in our physical bodies is because we're bypassing or overlooking that state of nothingness that can't be described or give labels to. And we're not seeing that that is the freedom that we seek. That's the true bliss. That's life itself. That's the space of infinite potential where anything can be anything, and anything is anything, and everything is everything. Anything that can be will be within this space. Everything is possible in this space. It's not about believing in this or believing in that. It's about the fact that you can believe in the first place. I'll say that again. It's not about believing in this or believing in that. It's the fact that you can believe in the first place. Don't miss this, because this is the freedom. I get to believe. I get to place my attention onto a belief, and I get to have that belief play out in my reality until it manifests into my physical world. And I get to hold that belief and say that this belief makes me feel very good, and that's why I stand on it. And then when it doesn't feel good anymore, I get to drop it and go to another one. Drop it, and the freedom of life is this free, malleable intelligence awareness that gets to be placed on something and illuminate it into consciousness, into reality, into the physical world. That's the beauty of it. It's not that you believe this and I believe this and you believe that and he believes this and she believes that. It's not the belief itself. It's the fact that we can believe that creates the freedom that we seek for within the belief system. And we're fucking bypassing it and we're forgetting it. We're getting so entangled and standing in our beliefs and being so righteous in what we think is right and what we think is wrong, and this is the right belief and this is the wrong belief, forgetting the beauty in the fact that that person can even have a combative belief against your belief. Why can that person believe in something that goes against your belief? Because he has or she has the ability to believe in the first place, and they're exercising that ability just as you are. exercising that ability to create your own belief in your own world and your own reality. And he or she is doing the same thing on this opposite spectrum. And then all of a sudden, if their belief system does not go incongruent with yours, it's wrong. It's never wrong. It's always allowed. Have you not realized this? It's always accepted. It's never not supported by a higher intelligence, which allows for all of this to be here in the first place. So if you learned anything from this podcast, it's to give more attention, more awareness to that intelligence, which allows you to be here, which grants you the 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 life to be here in this moment, for without it you are nothing. For without it nothing is nothing. There is nothing without this. It is prior to all of it. Give more of your attention to that which allows you to be here and less of your attention to that which is outside of you. We have to get into the habit of insourcing our awareness and attention back onto itself. We have to break the conditioned cycle of giving our attention to this person and this pill and this lotion and this potion and this thing for being the reason that I feel better, that I see better, that I hear better, that I smell better, that I live better. This is the cycle of, if you haven't realized it yet, the system of healthcare that we live in, which is why people get sicker and sicker and sicker. It's because we keep outsourcing and giving away our vital energy to the people, to the places, and to the things, which drains us and doesn't allow us to have enough energy to pour back into ourselves to truly understand and to heal. We have lost the availability of our attention span to be held onto a certain thought, onto a certain vision, onto a certain intention long enough for discovery to happen. Because with discovery comes creation. We explore by placing our attention and our awareness onto a certain thought or a vision or intention, and we hold it there for just a tiny bit. And you'll notice that it will start to pop up and start to unfold, and then it will unfold some more, and then it will lead into this, and that will lead into that, all because we're gathering our attention and focus and concentration onto something, which allows us to inevitably have a greater discovery. But if we can't do this because, one, our attention is very sloppy and our monkey minds don't allow us to, and as soon as we hold our minds onto something, we jump to the next thing, and then we jump to the next thing. What is that from? It's from social media. It's from scrolling. It's from quick videos. It's from doing this and 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 this all day long. It's from not being able to stay with something long enough because, God forbid, you create, you discover something about yourself, right? It's the contemplation that we're lacking in the world of healthcare. We need to be able to sit with something, and it's the lack of empowerment we have for ourselves. It's the inability for us to realize that everything we have to heal is already within us right now in this very moment. Again, we forgot that we aren't allowing our hearts to beat. Somehow we forgot that when we get a paper cut, we don't have to pray for days and hours on end for the paper cut to heal. We get a paper cut, we forget about it, it heals, and we're on our way. Somehow in our life experience, we just disregarded that intelligence and was like, yeah, that's just a normal thing. That just happens. That's not miraculous. That's not amazing. That's not everything that I possibly can seek for and want outside of me. That doesn't exist already within me. Everything that you see, the most miraculous thing is literally right here, right now, right now, in this moment. Not in the book, not in the guru, not in the person, not in the place, right now in this moment. It's existence itself. And if you are existing, which you are, can you confirm that you're existing right now? If you're listening to this, just say, I'm existing. I'm aware. I'm existing right now in this moment. Of course you are, because you're hearing me speak. Your confirmation that you're existing is the fact that you're here right now. So utilize your existence as a bridge. Utilize the direct experience of existing right now as a bridge to access that higher intelligence, that all loving, unconditional awareness that's just present right now, that supports everything, that holds space for everything. And go to that. Be more of that. Give more of your attention to that. Place more of your eye contact onto that, which is always placing its eye contact onto you. Something's always holding you and supporting you. Don't get lost in the story. Don't get lost in the thoughts. Become more courageous to cut through the continuity of mind and sit with what is already here. What does this do? The opposite of how you've been living typically. If you're in the conditioned cycle of outsourcing your attention, now you're insourcing. Now you're placing your attention and awareness back onto, quite literally, back onto attention and awareness itself. You're asking, I know I'm aware. I know I exist. I know I have an attention because I can think about this. I can think about that. I can think about a cloud. I can think about a dog. If I ask you to think about the park, if I ask you to think about the sky, you will think about whatever it is you think that it is. Right there and then, you just proven to yourself that you have an attention span that can go from this to that to this to that. If that's the case, all you have to do is now grab that attention, harness it, place it back onto itself, and insource it so that it creates this densifying compound effect where it can be kind of given back to the body for the purpose of healing, for the purpose of empowering, for the purpose of vitality. Have you ever noticed that when you are fully drained and the most lethargic and the most burnt out is when you have 50,000 things going on in your life that has your attention? When this has your attention and this has your attention, and then this trauma from 50 years ago has your attention, 50 years is a long time, let's say 5. This trauma from 5 years, this trauma from 2 years, all of these things are stealing your valuable attention and they're running in the subconscious. Typically, we don't realize it. But the reason we feel so drained and tired and we're like, fuck, why do I feel so tired? Oh, it's because I'm getting older. No, it's because you're getting older, but you're refusing to uproot and free up your attention so that it can be used to be more creative, can be more utilized for what it's designed to be utilized for, which is to be put towards something for greater creation. But that can't happen. It's like you're trying to rise up and expand, but a lot of these things are pulling out of the mind and tethering you to the ground or holding you to that level that you're trying to get past. And they're not allowing you to rise up because you're not allowing yourself to investigate, to contemplate, to explore this unknown space, which is here right now, supporting everything. So I'm going to end it here. Very passionate about this, obviously, as you could tell. But I wanted to stop at this moment because I actually think I have to go. 3:30. Love you guys. If you found value in this, beautiful. I will keep videos like this coming because I have a lot of journal entries. And again, the whole purpose always is to offer perspectives on health, on healing, on wellness, and just be able to lay out a clear way to understand something, not so that you can take it on and mimic it, but so that you can be inspired to utilize your own attention and awareness and place it in the direction that I'm trying to point at with the words. Cool? Love you guys. Stay healthy. As always, I will see you in the next one. Peace.